Thank you for that, Mr. Witherspoon. Okay, next we have a public hearing for 2022 schedule of values. As with our public comment period, once Mr. Tyson gives us a little summary on this proposal, if you wish to speak at this hearing, we would ask that you again come to the podium and address the board and begin by stating your name and residential address. We would also ask that all comments be related to the subject of this hearing, and that you again maintain proper decorum, make your comments in a civil manner, and refrain from personal attacks or the use of obscene or profane language. Mr. Tyson, we'll let you give us a little summary, and then we will open the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the board as well. We're here today to hear from the public on the proposed schedule of values that will come into effect January 1 of 2022. This is required by statute that we have this public hearing. The schedule of values itself has been in our offices, available to any of those folk who would like to take a look at what we have here. We're required to have this public hearing at least 7 days before the period of time in which we'll ask you to adopt the schedule of values. Right now, we'll hear from the public today. I'll make sure that any of the information and questions that they have will be responded to. Also, on the 15th of November, we'll be asking that you adopt these particular schedule of values, and that you will give us an order so that then after that we have about 30 days that we have to hold for appeal to the Property Tax Commission in Raleigh if folks still have any questions about what we have. Again, the process that we have here, we value properties in the county at 100% of the appraised value. So these schedule of values help us determine not only what the property looks like and how we go about assessing it, but what the values will be for the next 4 years. So it's an important piece of information that we have here. So that's what I have. I'm happy to hear any other comments or questions about that.
Thank you, Mr. Tyson. Okay, at this time I will call into session the public hearing on the schedule of values. Anyone who would like to speak, you may make your way to the podium at this time.
I'm sorry, is he allowed because it's a public comment section, because it's a public hearing, he'll be able to answer a couple of questions?
Sure.
According to the economic development plan, it says here that a 15% reduction in the property value tax rate. We are currently at 75 cents per $100 of the assessed value. They recommended it to be changed to 0.6375 cents. Let's say it's like 64 cents per $100, and that is a drop in tax rate. Is that what the evaluation currently, the paperwork you're going to vote on the 15th entails, or could he just explain that for those of us who will be writing the check?
Sure. I'll come up here and stand by you.
Yes.
Okay, so we can hear. Now, may I look at that real quickly? What this is saying is that every quarter we submit, and by that I mean the tax department, submits to the North Carolina Department of Revenue a sales ratio report. And do you see that sales ratio? Yes. Yeah. Do you see this information here? It says sales ratio study. But that sales ratio study, it does not have to do anything at all with what we actually tax here in the county. What it does, it shows how our sales versus what we should be appraising at is working. For example, you have immediately after your reappraisal period, January 1st of 2022, will be exactly at 100% of the appraisal value of the properties around here, because we have done this whole reappraisal process. We've come up and we have determined exactly what 100% will be. Then, immediately after that, every quarter after that, we'll be looking at the sales ratio study. Sometimes our values will be dropping. Sometimes our values will be increasing. And what this is saying here in the Economic Development Report is saying that based upon our sales ratio study since the last reappraisal, we're tracking at about 85% of the value. That's what we're taxing on, the assessed value of 85% of the value, not 100% of the value. So I believe I'm not the economic development folks, but I believe what they're trying to say is that once we get these things in place that they're proposing, then there will be an opportunity for you as the commissioners to look at what the tax rate should be. And it may be what they're saying there, but it may not be. So
it would be nice.
Yeah.
This would bring economic development to Harnett County, it says, because it would make us the second lowest rate in the area.
And again, that's not something the tax department can do. That will be on the commissioners for their consideration.
Thanks for your consideration. The plan, economic development, lower the tax rate.
Thank you, Mr. Credit. Anyone else?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Kent Jeffries. I live at 747 Perthway Road, Fuquay Marina, Cleveland Springs community. Lifelong resident of Harnett County, born down the road in Good Hope Hospital before it became a mental facility. I'd like you to know. I have a couple of questions from Mr. Tyson here regarding the property revaluation. When was this completed?
We haven't completed it quite yet. It'll be completed before December the 15th.
So, but have all of the properties been visited by the assessor?
Yes, sir. We have completed what we term the field work.
So was the field work completed before the asphalt plant was announced?
About the same time, I believe.
Yes or no?
Well, the answer is they were finishing up. Our field folks were finishing up, and they had already been through District 4, where you're talking about now.
So for those property owners in the vicinity of the proposed asphalt plant, was that taken into account in the reevaluation?
It hasn't, but we are looking at that.
Okay. So I assume then that after the values are announced and everything is approved, that the homeowners and property owners who feel that their property values have been negatively impacted by the proposed asphalt plant have the opportunity to appeal to the Board of Equalization and Review to have their property values adjusted accordingly.
Yes, sir. That's by statute. You have that.
Correct.
You have that right of appeal. So
That's right. I just want to make sure that the property owners, because I don't have a dog in this hunt. I live several miles away. But I was involved in an issue about 12 years ago that took me several years to get resolved. It also involved the planning department, the Board of Equalization and Review, on property that was owned by a sitting county commissioner at that time. The Board of Equalization and Review was a very important tool in this. And the property owners need to know that they have that resource available to them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffers. Okay, anyone else that would like to speak at this public hearing regarding this topic? Seeing no one else move, then we'll close this public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Tyson, for that summary for us this morning.